Hi, everyone. Welcome to Turning a Moment into a Movement. I am your host, Jay Love, and I also represent the Justice for Gerard movement. And if this is your first time joining us, Gerard is my son who was wrongfully convicted of a crime that he didn't do, innocent, had no knowledge of the crime, but he still was found guilty and he went to prison for that crime. And because of that journey with him, and all the people I met along that journey, I decided to create this platform called Turning a Moment into a Movement, where we come here on Fridays to talk about wrongful convictions, injustice, and to educate our community about the wrongful convictions. Our mission is to bring awareness to the wrongful convictions of Gerard and all others who are wrongly convicted, over sentenced, medically ill, medically frail in our community, to inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the need to disrupt systems, policies, and patterns of the criminal legal systems that leads to wrongful convictions. So that's why we come here on Fridays to be a resource for those who are looking for answers or for those who are searching. I know at the beginning when I was going through it, at that time it was some stuff, but it was really not much that I could rely on in regards to finding information. So I thank you for joining us, and we have an interesting show. Oh, actually, we have an awesome show tonight. We have some great news. We have been talking about Darrell Ewing and Derrico Searcy for I think since December or November of last year. So we're going to talk about what happened on Monday. But before we get to that, we're going to bring on our panel. And first, we're going to bring on Reverend Tia. Hi, Reverend Tia.
Well, hello there, Jay. How are you doing? I'm excited to be here this evening. Um, I'm telling you, I prepare every time I get excited about Fridays because it's another opportunity for us to educate and to come together and to learn and to glean from one another and to make a decision about what we're going to do next, individually and collectively, that there
Yeah.
are answers and solutions. And I'm so glad to have walked this journey with you. It has been just a phenomenal process. I always say God is maturing me. And I feel like that is what has happened through this whole ordeal is that I was growing up to know more about myself and definitely my community and know about the leaders that are supposed to be serving us. So I'm coming to you, Reverend Tia Taylor from the Choice Zone, and I help people make choices for themselves, choices that help to elevate them. So I always say I demonstrate that the kingdom of heaven is at hand right now. Uproot, tear down, and actually demolish every thought that comes against the knowledge of God. Bring it into captivity. Those thoughts that help us to be more like the Christ within, more like the power that's within each and every one of us. And I know that in this walk, that there are, like I said, answers and solutions. And I just believe that we are at a pinnacle of on this globe where more people, more now than ever, are waking up to what it looks like to act and make decisions for the rights of others, for human rights, for
Yeah.
dignity, for justice, and for all people. Yeah. And in a loving way. Can we do that? I believe we can do that. Jay, I tell you, I'm excited tonight. And if you need to get in touch with me, look, it's right there, thechoicezone.com. You can email me, Tia Taylor at thechoicezone.com. I do life coaching and all kinds of coaching. But more than that, I'm always a minister first.
Yes. Thank you, Reverend Tia. I'm so glad that you're here tonight. I'm so excited about this conversation. We've been waiting and anticipating. And so I see Attorney Mack is here, but he's not in the queue. So I'm going to go on to introduce Miss Diane from the Voice of Detroit. Hi, Diane.
Hello, hello. Happy as anything. We've had a great week.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Do you want me to start talking about it?
Well, wait a minute. I don't want you to start talking about until we bring in our next guest. Hello.
Here she is, Sonia.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, ladies. How are you?
Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
Are you?
God
I'm
is
so excited
amazing.
for you. Oh, yes.
God is amazing.
Yes, he is. You could go ahead, Miss Diane.
Okay, well, I'll lead up to what Sonia is going to say because I know that's her son, Darrell Ewing, that she's
Yeah.
fought for
Yes.
ever since he
We're
was
gonna let you
wrongfully
take over.
convicted
We're gonna
in
let you take over the mic.
2010.
Yes.
Okay, so right now we're here, we're celebrating, and his family is celebrating. They're just ecstatic because the events on Monday, that was supposed to be the beginning of his retrial, and on the charges that have been dismissed by numerous others, just a sec, my phone was popping up. By numerous judges, 8 judges altogether in state courts and federal courts, due to jury misconduct in the trial of Darrell Ewing and Derrico Searcy for the murder of J.B. Watson in Detroit in 2009. And at that trial, the prosecution basically was responsible for the jury misconduct that the case got overturned on, because their whole theory of the crime of the drive-by shooting of J.B. Watson was that it was a gang feud, and that Darell and Derrico were part of a gang called the Hustle Boys, and that J.B. Watson was in a different gang. And as a result of that, the jurors went on the internet to look up gang information about gangs, about their pecking order, the hierarchy in gangs and all that. And that's what, when U.S. Judge Denise Page Hood got the case in front of her at the U.S. District Court, she threw it out completely based on that juror misconduct, although she had other issues in consideration, including the confession of Tyree Washington, which he has made repeatedly through the years. And and then it went back for an evidentiary hearing in front of Judge Michael Hathaway here in the Detroit trial, the Detroit court. And he ended up granting the new trial. But the situation and the whole thing, Darrell's been fighting to get the case just thrown out, period, because of the Brady violations of Brady versus Maryland, which is the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that says all evidence that's exculpatory or favorable to the defense must be turned over. And that he's been fighting since they first started having pretrial hearings on the retrial, to say that the case should be dismissed because of those Brady violations. And that's in fact what happened. Despite the fact that the hearings in front of Judge Kiefer Cox, who dismissed the charges, he had hearings in June, October, December, and again in March of this year. And Darrell represented himself, which a lot of people said, oh, he can't do that. This is a murder case. Darrell is highly intelligent and educated. He's a paralegal, been certified as a paralegal while he was in the jail. And he represented himself all through those hearings. And at the end, we expected that the trial was going to begin in a hostile atmosphere from the judge, because the judge had just ruled on the 19th that had put restrictions in place for how Darell could operate in the courtroom as self-defending, as a pro se defendant. And but Darell turned the tables on him and said, "Look, with all these restrictions, I can't do that because it's going to hurt my case. It's going to hurt the outcome, and because it would prejudice the jurors, basically, is what he was saying." And so he got his attorneys on board, including Adam Clements of the Perkins Law Group. He already had Christopher Sinclair. And then, so everybody was in court for the beginning of the trial. Darell and Derrico. Derrico's attorneys were attorney Blaze Kearney and Glenn O from the Neighborhood Defender Service. So it was a powerhouse of attorneys at that point. And right at the beginning, before we were thinking there was going to be all sorts of problems, that the trial was going to go on for 2 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. Judge Cox turned the tables back and said, for his reasons, which I've listed in the story in The Voice of Detroit, it's basically a direct quote. And I think you say you've got a tape of it, Jay?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to let LaSonya talk before I play it.
Oh, sure.
LaSonya?
But, yeah.
I can't hear you. Try it again, LaSonya. Your mic is on. Your mic is on my side. Oh, she's not coming.
She's in the car. She might need to take her video off. See if that works.
Try taking your video off and see if it helps your mic. She had her video on, it was working. So LaSonya, let's see. There you go. I think that's, can we hear her? No, we can't hear her. So I'm gonna let her click out and come back in. Click out, LaSonya, and come back in. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna, hi, Attorney Matt. So we're gonna play the video of the judge speaking. Okay, here she comes. Hold on, maybe not. Hello.
Hello.
There you go.
There you
go. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
God is good all the time. I'm going to say it again. I can't stop saying it, y'all. So understand what I done just had God do for me. You know, my son was released Monday. And I guess it still really ain't hit me good on what really happened, because it was so beautiful seeing him walk out of that jail. And it was so amazing for him. He was so overwhelmed. He got so much love, and the whole city of Detroit is rallying behind him. I've never seen nothing like this before. And it's so many people who's calling me and saying that it gave them hope with their son, their father, their brother who's in jail, who they, just, it's overwhelming the amount of support and people that has reached out to us. We just left right now. We're doing a black tie affair coming home party for him May 5th at the Rooster Tail. And we got the whole Rooster Tail. They want to tie themselves into how could we get involved in this? So it's really, really big. And I didn't even think about it that way because we was just fighting. So now that people call, we didn't have people call us like, hey, Miss Sonia, I own a Detroit True Story brand. I want to give your family clothes to wear. Just let me know what colors y'all want, because y'all definitely a true story. I mean, it's been so amazing the things that people are doing. So we're ready. He came out so strong. It looked like he didn't miss a beat. When you play this video and you watch him, you're gonna see that this wasn't nothing but God at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so strong and he didn't seem institutionalized or nervous. He came right out and had all his he sound like a young Muhammad Ali if you listen to him. He really ready. He ready to fight. And he
Yes, I
ready to
was.
fight. And he came up when he came out of the prison and he came out with 10 big boxes of legal work. So the news is out there. The news stayed with us all day. From 9 o'clock in the morning when we came out here like 9:30, 10 o'clock till
Mhm.
11 o'clock at night. I never seen the news record that much. They normally get a little clipping at 11 coming on, da da da, say three things and then it be over with. But they covered this so well till it was amazing. But it was an amazing event. It was something to be covered for real.
Yes.
It really was. So just just tell people don't give up. We got to start looking in them books that they've been telling us. If you want to have something from a black person, put it in the book. It's true. He had to go back to Milan because he had a federal situation. They had to take off this murder thing so he could come on home. So the court date ain't till May 2nd. So he had to do 30 days. And he like, "Ma, I ain't worried about that. I'm gonna go down here and do this 30. I'm gonna read 10 books and I'll be right back out." I'm like, wow. So he bases stuff off of how he reads. So
Mhm.
it's an amazing thing to see what he did in that courtroom, how he could recite this case law. He was saying stuff, and I was wondering, like, was he reading it from something? Because he'd be like, "Your Honor, such and such verse, such and such, you came 139." I'm like, where's he getting all that from? Is all of this in his brain? He really knew his stuff. He knew his stuff, and at the end, it showed that he knew his stuff, and he walked himself out of there, and that's the part that's making history. That's the part that got everybody calling and wanting to meet him. I mean, I got people calling me like, my daughter said, "Is he famous? I want to meet Apple." And I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
wow. It's so amazing the people that's calling. Y'all would if y'all see my text, if I could show y'all my phone and the text messages from everybody with anybody in this city is calling me. Like vendors and everything want to just offer their services to help us with the event. Um, Organizations that's reached out. We're finna take this. This finna be really, really big. This finna be one for the books. And a good look for Detroit as well. We bringing in the group of young guys that they called the Hustle Boys, who is now working with Mayor Duggan to bring the crime down in the city, and they actually just got 189,000 put into their organization because they brought the crime rate down 6.8%. So if it go down more, they get a $500,000. So it's a lot of stuff going on, and it's all positive. So they keep telling me, "Hey, Ma, we pushing peace and prosperity." I said, "Well, let's do it." So that's why we had no problem coming down here and getting this whole rooster tail to show them, to elevate them, to let them rub elbows with people that they need to rub elbows with and what they need to
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
It's so inspiring, the story, everything that happened, what Darrell did, everything. So I want to play the video um, of the judge speaking. Go to that, right? Just a second, you guys.
And by the way, that's my video. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that is the video I took. I recorded all those names. I recorded every word.
Hopefully everyone can hear it. They should.
Yeah, the judge talk low though.
Well, I can quote him. The video because I wrote down just about everything he said.
Yeah, quote him, Diane, because I can't hear it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
basically, this is from the story I have. And that video is on the story too. So, you know, something's wrong with I had to log in again because it lost connection. Can you see me on this?
I can hear you, but I can't.
You can't see me? That's okay. As long as you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, but this is from Judge Keith Fox. He said, the court's not satisfied. We'll get a prosecution motion on Friday at 4:20 p.m. to adjourn the trial about interrogation recordings with respect to Mr. Ewing and Mr. Searcy. Evidence that for months since last June, when Mr. Ewing first filed his motions to compel, requested and addressed and demanded. Key to Judge Ewing's for a little inset here. Key to Judge Searcy's dismissal, he said, was the discovery that prosecutors never talked with Theophilus Williams, the original DPD officer in charge of the case in 2010. And going back to the quote from Judge Cox, Mr. Ewing stated that Williams told him, I know you didn't commit this crime, but if you don't tell him you did, he would make Mr. Ewing go down to. This was reported to have been around the time of his arrest. On March 19th, I pushed back asking to give you talk to Mr. Williams. We've finally spoken to Mr. Williams. He remembers having recorded conversations, not only with Mr. Ewing, but also Mr. Searcy. That causes quite a concern to their court, and it appears that the first time Detroit police or the prosecutor's office or spoke with the original officer in charge on this 15-year-old case was on the Friday before the Monday of the trial. These items have been requested for almost a year, for months and months and months, repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. Now Williams says yes, it would have been recorded and burned to DVD. Yeah.
Miss Diane, your jumbo. Do you have on?
That's because that video is playing. You got to cut the video off because it's messing with her speaking.
Yeah, and something's wrong. I got okay. Yeah, that could be it. Okay, so I'll just keep going. Then he said, what about all the other items? Oh, 1 second. StreamYard is coming in and out right now. I don't know what's happening.
So you clear now.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Real good.
Okay, on my camera, on my phone, it's just got something up from StreamYard, but you can still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. These items have been requested for almost a year, for months and months and months, repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. Now, Williams says, yes, they would have been recorded and burned to a DVD. What about the other items, all the other items that Mr. Ewing and Mr. Searcy have been requesting? It causes this court great concern that all this evidence was at some point in time evidence in the case and available. What could potentially be in the federal case files? What about the recording of Mrs. Dodson, and that's LaSonya Dodson and Mr. William Beal? Other types of video evidence, including the prior 2009 statement by Mr. Tyree Washington. That's the man that confessed to the murders. It is incredibly concerning to this court. As far as the court's concerned, this situation is in fact a due process violation for Mr. Ewing and Mr. Searcy. And at that point, he asked the defense attorney, one of Darrell's defense attorneys, who was representing him, did he have a motion? and which evidently this was all prepared. And the defense attorney was Christopher Sinclair, as well as an attorney from Todd Perkins' office. His name's just going out of my mind right now. Adam Clements.
Adam Clements.
And yeah, and Clements said yes. We're making a motion to dismiss all charges, and the attorney Blaise Kearney for Darell joined in with that. This was just stunning when that happened, because the whole situation was not leading in that direction, but it was really a tribute to Darell's performance as pro se performance. He recognized Darell had filed 50 some motions since last June, and he filed them. He wrote everything that he's been doing in the jail. He's been organizing not only for himself and Derrico, but also for the entire population of the jail and the conditions there, because he filed a federal case on the conditions in the jail. And he did that all on loose leaf paper with pen and pencil. Same thing with the motions he filed during the trial. He is in defense. You can't defeat Darell.
You can't defeat Darell.
He just kept on. And so anyway, and then the whole courtroom erupted. You'll see at the end of the video, if you can't watch it tonight, you'll see it on the story in Voice of Detroit that is at the top of Voice of Detroit right now. And you can see at the end where everybody just erupted, the whole courtroom, all the people that came to witness what was going on, the family members and friends, a lot of people turned out. And they were just screaming and crying. And the Judge Cox, the guard earlier, had warned people about doing that in the court, but he just said, he was very mild about dealing with it. He said, well, we know the emotions are high, but take it outside in the hallway. They didn't try to put any penalties on or anything like that. And the guards actually told Darell, you did a good job, because the same guards have been there with him, and they've helped him carry his boxes into the courtroom, his boxes of legal documents, and so it was just fantastic. And then of course people eventually left out and waited downstairs, and we had, in the story that I have up, there's a video of Larry Smith, who's an exoneree. He's been on this show before, I know. And there was a prayer circle that all the relatives and family members and friends of Darell and Derrico got together, and he addressed the crowd. Let me see if I can bring it up here. You might be able to hear it. Hold on, because I'd have to up the volume on here. Okay, well, it's taking a minute to download. Can you hear it? Okay, it's coming. It shows the whole prayer circle, and it's coming back to Larry. Okay.
I'll come back and start praying first.
They were trying to get me in the prayer circle, but I had to video it.
Let me say something.
Here it is.
Let me get that little first right there, so you might have something to get that.
We can't see you, Diane.
Huh?
We can't see
Oh,
you.
you got the video?
No.
No. Okay, he's about to start now.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm grateful for so many reasons at this moment to be here with these great people. One, of course, Darell, absolutely. But with that process, we walked the halls together, and I once was serving the same sentence that he was serving, a natural life. I personally know about this experience and return to society, Heavenly Father. So I want you to make sure that you guard over keep this great family, keep it high and lifted, and then beware of all the evil serpents and snakes that's gonna try to get a piece of the way you might not even have it, but they just know it's something they think you're gonna have. The reality is, Father, thank you, Father. just keep the light on. Let that shine. Let the family shine. And the truth is, just hold us all up like you've been through, because it's a wicked world. And it's such pain associated with it. But we're going to pour all the joy, Father. And this moment is a great joyful moment. Thank you, Father. Thank you for Darell. Thank you for Searcy. Thank you, Father, for this moment. Thank you for everybody who participated, because without that, we had nothing. Amen.
Did you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here. For those who are viewing, I put the link in the chat so people can watch the YouTube video of the judge.
Yeah. It's a link to the story, right? Yeah. There's also the Channel 4 video at the top of the story, which was tremendous.
Yes, I want to play that right now, Miss Diane.
Okay, good.
I'm going to let everybody mute themselves.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, I can't get to my mute because I got some ad from StreamYard that came up.
I'll mute you.
Okay.
Okay. Present.
Still on this podcast.
Tears and screams of joy outside the Wayne County Jail tonight as the long and intriguing case of Darrell Ewing took another turn today. Darrell Ewing, who has been in prison for 14 years, walked out today after a judge dismissed the murder case against him.
Our Mara McDonald live at the Wayne County Jail tonight. And Mara, prosecutors are saying that they're going to appeal this decision from the judge.
Devin, that's what they're saying. But I'll tell you, talk to Darrell Ewing, talk to his family out here at the jail tonight. That is not on the top of their minds right now, that he walked out of jail or prison after 14 years. To them, that's what matters. Take a look. The joy that greeted Darrell Ewing as he walked out of the Wayne County Jail was all-encompassing. Ewing has been in prison since '09. That's when he was charged with murdering a man in a drive-by shooting at Harper and Van Dyke. Now, he's always said it wasn't him. In the intervening years, all sorts of problems with his trial have become known. Jury misconduct, witnesses whose accounts don't add up, a confession from someone else for the crime.
Well, that's what they're doing. They just want to solve the crime and get it off the books. They're not about getting it right. That's what we have to start ushering in, getting it right.
Darell was a smart kid, graduated high school early with a 3.8. He put his brain to use behind bars.
This young man used to turn down visits from his mother. She would call, she would contact him and say, listen, I want to come see you on Saturday. And he would say, no, mama, don't come Saturday. Because she said, why not? He said, because I'm going to the law library.
And became a paralegal, ultimately representing himself with backup counsel.
This is how you get free. You have to have it. Number case law.
Today, a judge dismissed the murder case against him, and while the final legal maneuvering here may not be over just yet, he's got plans.
What I have to do now is get with the prosecutor's office and try to usher in a way that we could do reform for wrongful conviction despite the wrongful conviction rate in Detroit.
Back here live, Darell tells me that among those plans, going to law school. We're live at the Wayne County Jail tonight. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
Quite a turn of events.
Yes. Attorney Matt.
Yes, that was so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that their news article, because sometimes they can do an article and you be like, why would they do it like that? But I loved everything they did about it. You know,
Yeah.
I love the way
Yeah.
she started off by, well, the last thing that this family is worried about is them trying to say they want to retry it or something, you know, or appeal it or whatever they call it.
Yes. Attorney Matt, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the reality of it is that after a case leaves the circuit court, all right, appeals are very difficult to win, okay? This is going to be one of those rare cases where hopefully the same standard is applied to when the prosecutor is trying to appeal a ruling from a circuit court as when a defendant is trying to appeal a conviction, okay? So hopefully the Court of Appeals will apply that same strict, hard review and not engage in a political, well, you know, we just feel the judge was wrong sort of analysis, because that's always a concern. And with people that have been wrongfully convicted is the appeal, where it gets to judges that are not so interested in justice, but they're interested in the status. Okay. You know, there was a man by the name of Reuben Carter, a nickname Hurricane, a
I
middleweight,
remember.
a middleweight boxer, champion boxer. Okay. And that man was wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. And a federal district court judge said, no, this man has been wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. He ordered his release. You know, the prosecutor took that, Court of Appeals, tried to go to the Supreme Court with that, okay? So, and they're unsuccessful, and rightfully so. So my encouragement would be with the family and the attorneys that are working with you is to be able to stick with that hard line that it is very difficult to get a circuit court decision reversed, okay? You know, and the standard, was the judge clearly erroneous, okay? Was that a clearly erroneous ruling, not supported in fact? And from what little bit that I've heard, I don't see how the judge's ruling is clearly erroneous. Whether the Court of Appeals would have decided the case differently is not the issue, all right? And Mom, I'm sure you know this already, but
Yeah.
you be sure to focus in on that. The Court of Appeals is not to decide the case all over again. The circuit court judge already did that.
Right.
The only decision with the Court of Appeals is, was that judge clearly erroneous? And that's a hard standard to meet.
Yeah.
Can I say something a little bit?
Diane.
Yeah, they're bragging now, the prosecutor, about how they're going to appeal. Actually, in the case of Thelonious Searcy, who is Derrico's brother, that's a case I followed for a long time on The Voice of Detroit, and he was completely exonerated by Judge Thomas Hathaway. He dismissed all the charges with prejudice. Now, Kim Worthy will not let up. She will, no matter how evident it is that the defendant is in the right, like in Devontae Sanford's case, the little 14-year-old that was convicted for killing four adults in a drug house, which was totally, they knew from the beginning he didn't do it. But she still will not admit that he's innocent. And in Sean's case, she appealed Judge Hathaway's ruling, and to the Court of Appeals, and we watched the videos of that, and they were clearly, it was from the beginning, the panel in the Court of Appeals came in with their minds made up, and they overturned it. According to what Attorney Mack was saying, exactly is what they ignored, because they acted like they could overturn what the judge did without any real cause. Just saying that, well, he was supposed to have a new trial. He shouldn't have had all the charges dismissed. That's in the realm of the judge to decide that, not the Court of Appeals. But anyway, that's being appealed to the Michigan Supreme Court, and we're pretty confident that's going to be overturned. And Sean will once again not have to have that dogging his life.
So Derrico has his case coming up this coming Friday. Is that correct?
No, it's actually the situation with that's a little complicated. I talked to the lawyers in his case today, and on what happened on Thursday, March 27th, was that charges against a co-defendant of his in that separate case, his name is Delmarie Morris, were vacated by Judge Miriam Bazzi. subsequent to an evidentiary hearing, according to his attorney. I talked to Michael Desi, who was also the attorney for Thelonious Searcy, and he's representing Delmari Morris. He said the case was overturned due to lies told by a prosecution witness. He said right now the ruling only applies to Morris, but and Morris had been serving a sentence of 35 to 50 years. Now, Searcy's Blaise Kearney, who's Searcy's defense attorney, told us, regardless of what happened with Morris, we believe Mr. Searcy is entitled to a resentencing on that case because we believe that the J.B. Watson murder in this case was factored into that original sentence. He told me a motion is in the works now to be filed, and they're optimistic that that'll also get Derrico out.
Wow.
You know what, Diane? I'm wondering how much money is spent on a prosecutor trying to justify their actions.
Oh
How
my
much
God.
time and money? Has anybody ever, I mean, as far as being financially astute, who does that? How much, who has done the calculations to say how much time and money is spent on a prosecutor trying to justify actions after, going after a judge has made a ruling and they're trying to make it stick just for their own sake? There has got to be a cost. There's a cost I believe there's a cost to the city.
It's a cost to the city. It's a cost to the city, and also you got to look at the type of cases. We got the young lady who had her baby in the car with the duct tape and was there riding around with the baby, and she got acquitted, and they didn't retry her at all. You got the baby in the car with you in your trunk of your car and everything. It's double standards. It's double standards on when we testify. I told them my son was with me. We were at a repast. But that don't matter when you're black. Now, if it was a white mother who said her son was with him, he got an alibi. He was with his mother. But with us, it's never. We got to start fighting that kind of stuff. Like we got to start changing that narrative, because until we do that, this gonna keep happening. And then we gotta go after, and a lot of it is we gotta go after the media. The media only covers black crime like 90% of the time. It's other stuff happening, but it don't make the news. So the news is subliminal. So when we keep watching black, stolen the car, killed the lady, did this, did that, when we get to court as jurors, we only see what we see every day because it's being embedded in our heads that this is what they doing. You know what I'm saying? So it makes us say guilty. And we don't see this every day because I live in the suburbs and I done seen stuff happen that won't make the news. I done had my white customers tell me things that happened in their neighborhood that didn't make it to the news. Because we talk about my son's case and they like, guess what happened over here? And it wasn't on the news and it didn't. So it don't make the news because they worry about their property values. We got to learn how to deal with situations, know what hurts us and what helps us. Even like P. Diddy case type of thing. Like before we get convicted, we will convict our own people. And we will convict him before we know. We don't know whether this is something big and they coming after him because of something he supposed to did. We don't know what they be doing with them for real. They can get people to say anything. Money makes people say stuff. So I don't know. I just really feel like we got to learn how to change the stuff, get behind the media, get behind the news and stuff and how they portray us. Because other nationalities watch how people portray them. They came out with a movie called Squid Games. And the Chinese people got mad because it was showing Chinese people shooting people and all of that. And they made it a law in China that you couldn't even watch that there.
You're absolutely right,
You know,
LaSonya.
but we allow
Because
everything in.
yeah, you're absolutely correct. We can't expect for somebody else to accept us innocent until proven guilty. if we're not looking at us as innocent until proven guilty, we have to be on board with it too. And so, and you're right, because I mean, I had the same experience. So many people were saying, how did you know? I know because there's a history and it's constantly going on even today. You know, the prosecutor's office are quick to prosecute, to exonerate those cases that's not on their watch. But the ones that's on their watch, they seem like they want to fight them, like Devontae Sanford and the other ones that you spoke of, Miss Diane, because they're on her watch. You know, she doesn't want to say that she's wrong. Yes, you have a group of people in your office, and you guys have a pattern and a behavior that we're seeing that's coming out in abundance of cases. Constantly, we seeing it at these exonerations, these jailhouse snitches, these lying police officers, the corrupt prosecutors that they have. And so if we don't pay attention, because this can happen to anybody. We've been saying that since we've been on here. This can happen to anybody. And if we don't do our due diligence and pay attention and start asking and demanding, no, not asking, just demanding for accountability, this is going to continue to happen, just like LaSonya says, to other families and other people, because there's nothing being done to stop it. There's nothing being done to correct it.
Yeah, and you know what LaSonya said was very important. You know, what we pay attention to, what we keep looking at. And what I need our community to understand is that we're the ones looking at it constantly and backing it, and they keep reporting more of it. It's more, you know, so what we look at and what we pay attention to affects our neighborhoods, it affects you individually, even if you want to admit it or not. It does have an effect on you because that's where your attention is. And where your attention goes constantly, that's what you're going to get more of. Whether you want to believe it or not, has your belief in that, what I just said, it doesn't matter. It's just like if I said it's raining outside, and if it's actually raining outside, whether you believe it or not, it makes no difference. If you go outside, you'll get wet. And so as we continue to grow, just know that you're paying attention to all of this negative information that's constantly being spewed out to the community. And that's on purpose. And we don't get upset. I mean, just like she said, in China, you can't do it. You can't negatively portray them. You can't say certain things about certain people. The sad thing is that people of color have been constantly put down, so used to being in that position, have just lulled. And you know, it's funny. We make jokes about it. It's not funny. It's not funny anymore. We make jokes about the killings. We've made jokes about police brutality. You can look at it in movies. And for everybody, and we would sit up there and laugh. How about it's not funny? When will it not be funny to us?
Right.
When will it be where we get enraged at the thought? Now, when that happens, then we are coming to a place where we value ourselves. And then they'll stop.
Right. And follow the money. Like you brought up how much money is being paid, you know, because a year ago or two, Kim Worthy said her office needed more money, you know, and she was on this campaign to get more money or to pay, or she was saying that prosecutors were leaving to go to other places because they wasn't paying them enough. But if you're doing corrupt trials, if you're putting people in prison for misconduct, why should we give you more money? What you need more money for?
You know, I wonder about that whole thing with the crime lab, the rape kits. She's made a big deal out of that. And she's been getting all sorts of grants from the federal government. She had Erica Badu performed at Shane Park a couple of years ago to raise money for it. The only thing I've seen come out of her rape kit investigation is that more people are going to prison when actually there should be some people getting exonerated as a result of those rape kits. And you don't see that coming out. She's not interested in that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's good. That's good, Diane, because at some point it's like, okay, so who did it? Who did the crime? I mean, just like Darrell and all these people get exonerated, and then next, what's next? You know, but if she's so focused on the people who are getting exonerated, and she's so focused on, no, I got to get them, I got to prove my point, then whoever did it is still out there. So it's not true justice. It's not true justice.
You know, in Devontae Sanford's case, the man, Vincent Smothers, was the one that said that he and his accomplice committed those murders. And, you know, but in that case, and also in Thelonious Searcy's case, where he took the stand finally, was able to testify in person in great detail about the killing of the man that was involved in Thelonious Searcy's case. And I lost my train of thought for a minute here. Go on ahead. I'm saying that, okay, go ahead, Miss Reverend Tia.
No, I was just saying that, you know, eventually when we calculate and come up with some dollar signs, you know, I mean, even if I'm working clinically, I have to do a log. I would have to do a log to say who I saw and what happened and have proper documentation, you know. And okay, so what's on the docs? But if the same people keep coming back to the docs, that means that's not a new case. You know, at some point we gotta see what is the dollar amount? How much are we paying as taxpayers for this?
Exactly. Right. Right. I don't want my money to keep going to that. No. I don't want my money to keep wrongfully convicted. I don't want my money to do that. Right. So we have, as taxpayers, had to start demanding accountability.
Yeah. Would you have somebody come and do your roof, and they do a poor job, and they left a hole in the top of the roof and missed putting up some shingles, and you brought them back 3 times to do the same thing? Would you do that?
Right.
Is that okay? Would you keep hiring that person and keep paying them over and over again to redo the roof or complete a job that was never done right the first time? Right. We have got to really look at how we spend our money as taxpayers in whatever city you live in. Where's your money going? How is it spent? You know?
That would be from oversight.
Yeah. I have a Freedom of Information Act request in now to the law department to find out. I requested for all the exonerees, and this was in conjunction with one of the exonerees and his attorney. But I filed it on behalf of the Voice of Detroit to find out how much money has been spent appealing their cases by the city of Detroit, actually, at this point. Because they insist on appealing and appealing and appealing, as does the prosecutor's office. So we should be getting the results of that within a couple of weeks. They say they do have the documents that they need. It's just a question of finalizing the whole situation. And that's after Chicago. In Chicago, they exposed like $1 billion that they were spending on private law firms to appeal exonerees cases. After the exonerees had spent decades in prison, you're going to still torture them with appeals? Can't your money be placed elsewhere, like finding who really did it, like people are saying?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's good, Diane. I'm really looking forward to hearing those numbers because that's important. That's important.
Right, billions of dollars, but you constantly, overtaxing, and you don't have this money for this program, or you can't fund this, but we're pouring money into situations that are really over. You're just making it. You want your ego. You want to satisfy your ego. So I'm just so happy that when I saw the on Instagram, my daughter actually brought it to my attention like early in the morning. I think it was like 10 something. I was like, oh my God. That it was on Instagram. Somebody had posted that the case was dismissed. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm so happy. He's an awesome person. I can't wait till he's home and he can, have his own office and out here making it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing about Darell. He's not just interested in his own exonerations. He wants to fight for all the people. He spent 14 years altogether in prison. He was in the MDOC most of that time, and that's when he was began studying law. And he's always taken into account the other people that are there with him. Larry Smith does the same thing. He was the exoneree that's been on this station in these programs. He's always fighting for the people he left behind. And Darell is the same type of person. He's not going to just rest on his laurels and say, I'm glad I'm home. Let me go have a happy life. No, don't blame people that do that, because sometimes it was so traumatic to lose all those years when they finally get a chance to have a happy life. But these are people that are extraordinary. Darell and Larry Smith, they're fighters till the end for everyone.
Yes. And it takes, like you said, a special person, because some people just want to forget it. They just want to move forward. And I don't blame them, because it is traumatic. Even as a mother, it's traumatic to go see your sons or your daughter in those conditions, let alone, you being in those places. So it is a lot. And we do. Larry is, wonderful. He always is speaking up. And I can't wait to see what Darnell is going to do. I know he's going to be awesome. I was looking at him carrying all of those boxes. He was a lawyer. He was in there working that.
He worked that case. He worked it
for a year. And the judge finally turned around and just said he was right. Basically, that's what he said in that ruling, that Darell was right. He talked about all the motions he'd filed repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, and that's how the judge talked, repeatedly and repeatedly, and just chastised the prosecution for not producing the what Darell wanted in those motions.
Yeah, I heard somebody was saying how there was a video. They had plenty of time to get this stuff, Yeah. Why you don't have it? And basically that's what the judge was saying. Like, you have plenty of time to get this video. And even the police officer, he was a liar, in this case.
Yeah, and for him to say that what happened to the evidence that was there before that you said, you talked about this.
That's right.
And that was there before. What happened to it now?
It was before the trial. The evidence was there. During the trial, after Tyree Washington confessed to a Michigan state trooper, Mirandized confession where the state trooper warned him that he could face penalties, and all of that, and someplace along the way, even at the trial in Darell's case, in Darell and Derrico's case, they had people testifying Tyree Washington didn't testify. The prosecution said, oh, they already had the people they wanted. But they did have people come in that the federal government brought in to testify that they knew Tyree Washington was the killer at the trial. And the prosecution just diverted all that to this whole thing about gangs. All these young guys, you know, they're just in gangs and they're just out there killing each other.
Yeah, because that's the narrative.
To do what they did.
Right. That's the narrative that they wanted to push, you know, and like you was talking about the media likes that narrative, you know, it gets more viewers. It's not, you know, now that you talking about wrongful convictions, where's the media now? I'm sure when that story was ran 15 years ago, 247 and everybody was there. Now you have this one station really talking about it and pushing it. So, and that should make us see as citizens that, you know, how they run with these narratives and that we can't be so sucked in to a narrative. We have to be holding out for the truth, looking for the truth, because they're not looking for the truth. They just want to pin them, like Darrell said in the video. They just want to get the case off the books. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, Attorney Matt.
Well, there are a lot of little logistical things that maybe you know, but most people in the community don't understand. First of all, when a person's incarcerated, okay, waiting to stand trial, if they can't make bond, then they're remanded to the jail, okay, the county jail. County jails are notorious for having little to zero legal resource, okay? Like, in other words, a law library, okay? And, you know, county jails will have like a reading library or some Louis Lamont books, you know, or Wild Western shoot 'em up kind of things. But at the county jail level, just look at the stereotypical Black person, okay, that is charged with a crime. Most times, because systemic economic racism, that person is going to either get a public defender or a lawyer at public expense, okay? Now there are some people that have the resources to afford a private attorney, okay? But most cases, you're going to have a young Black man that is going to have to depend on the services of a public defender. I mean, I was a public defender for 12 years. I have some excellent public defenders. But the point is, you can overload a system so much, okay, with overworked and understaffed, you're not going to be able to give the individual attention to that case that somebody who's paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 might get. But now, let me say this. In my experience as a public defender, I've seen some piss poor jobs by private attorneys. Okay, you know, I said this man would have been better off. This man would have been better off defending his damn self. Okay, you know, and stuff. So don't think I'm saying money is the answer, because you know you've got some members of my profession that'll boast about, you know, that, well, you know, I won this case and won that case. Any attorney that advertises about cases that they've won should not only be ignored, but should be disbarred, because it sends an image to the public that this person is guaranteeing me I'm going to win because this lawyer represented so-and-so in such and such a case and is not found not guilty. Well, I'm not charged with something that serious, so therefore I need to be, you know, acquitted. See, so that's not the case. Every case is different. And any lawyer that, and I feel so bad for some folks, predominantly Black folks, but they go to these lawyers and they almost guarantee somebody, well, we're going to win this motion. Yeah, we're going to get this evidence suppressed. It's going to be kicked. Like I said, I'm warning all y'all and tell all your people. Anytime you go to a lawyer and lawyer can talk about, oh yeah, we'll win this motion. Don't just walk out their office. Run. Okay. They don't decide a motion. The judge does. They don't say guilty or not guilty. The jury does. You understand what I'm telling you? So my point is this, looping back around. When a person goes into jail, and I know from personal experience, It's a state of shock. It's a state of shock. And I don't care how tough you thought you are on the street, or, you know, you got a reputation of this and that. If the truth was told, there are millions of pillows in the county jails around the state of Michigan that are tear stained. You hear me?
Yeah.
Tear stained. Okay. Yeah. Because I don't care how tough you try to present yourself to be. When you in that cell by yourself, and it's just you and yourself in there, you got no support in there. I'm telling you right now from personal experience, that is a singularly terrifying thing. You understand? A singularly terrifying thing. So now advance that now to trial, okay? And let's say the person is convicted. I am telling you right now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is next to impossible to get a jury verdict of guilty reversed in a court of appeals. It is next to impossible. First of all, the problem is the people that you have on the Court of Appeals. When you look for people running for Court of Appeals and the Michigan Supreme Court, you notice a lot of the quote-unquote conservatives, they run as if they're running for sheriff. They run on the mantra of, we got to crack down on this crime. The community is not safe. People are running rampant. There's no respect for the law. And by the way, anytime you see a candidate that gets a bunch of support from police unions, be very, very cautious. Be very, very, very cautious. Okay. So the problem is when you get these folks elected, they bring that mantra with them. They bring that mantra of, look, they wouldn't be here if they didn't do it. The jury heard the evidence. The jury said guilty. We're not going to disrupt this jury. You know, they created what's called harmless error. All of you know about that. Harmless error is such a big loophole. You can drive a semi truck through it.
Yeah.
And anything can be characterized as harmless error. You know, they can say, well, you know, you're entitled to a fair trial, not a perfect trial. Tell that to a man or woman that spent 10, 15, 20, 30 years in prison wrongfully. Tell them that. Okay, tell them that. And so, unfortunately, what's happened is people have equated the absence of a fair trial with, well, it wasn't a perfect trial. No, it was not a fair trial. And see, part of the problem is, and I'm sure all of you realize this, if the system actually worked the way it should work, the whole system would constipate. You would have so many cases going back to the circuit court for trial, the system wouldn't be able to function. And so the reality that people need to face is, in our criminal justice system, we have chosen efficiency over justice. Okay? Efficiency over justice. Because what happens is when your case is going up to the Court of Appeals, okay, statistics show that fewer than 7% of those cases are ever reversed by the Court of Appeals. That means that 93% of those convictions are upheld. Now, when a person goes for application for leave to appeal to the Michigan Supreme Court, fewer than 2.1% of those cases are given anything other than, once again, from personal experience, your application for leave to appeal is denied because the Michigan Supreme Court is not convinced that this is an issue that impacts the people of the state of Michigan. One paragraph defining somebody's life. One paragraph, okay? So, you know, and you got to understand, even though the state constitution gives you a right to appeal, a mandatory right to appeal to the Court of Appeals, that is no mandatory guarantee of justice, okay? It is no mandatory guarantee of justice. And when you get to prison, I'm gonna tell you from personal experience, it's not easy to walk into the law library. You got to get on a call out. You've got to be given permission to go. There's only so much room in the prison libraries. Okay, if in other words, if them seats are taken up, guess what? You ain't going. You may get on an overflow list to go a week or two from now, but you're not going when you want to go. Okay, and that is in fact the truth. a lot of the money for these prison law libraries to getting like Lawyers Weekly and stuff. The state is not providing that. The inmate benefit funds are paying for all that. Okay, so I could talk for another half hour about the rigors of this. So I say God bless the men and women that have managed to fight their way into those law libraries. God bless the men and women that have been tenacious enough not to take no for an answer, to keep working and working and working. And I've told you before, when I got out of the penitentiary and regained my law license, I wrote a book. From A to Z on the criminal justice system and had it sent to about 20 institutional law libraries. At first they accepted it, then they destroyed all the copies of it. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is that when I hear about this young man that says he wants to work and to be able to work for other people, please do. Because, in the military, they say no man or woman left behind. Well, that's what we got to be, folks. We got to be soldiers, that we're not going to leave nobody behind. In my penitentiary experience, unfortunately, 4 of my very close friends that I would stake my life on, were wrongfully convicted. They've died. They died in the penitentiary. So, but there are a lot of others that are there. So, excuse me, but that's my statement for tonight.
Right. Attorney Matt, I like everything you said, because you made it clear that these exonerations do not happen that easily.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
It's not a normal occurrence.
That's right.
Darrell's been fighting for what, 15 years, Miss Diane?
So, yeah.
15 years for Darrell. So Larry Smith, 20-something years.
This
is not something that just happened. And even like you said, Attorney Matt, the Court of Appeals, how many times people, the rate of that people can get a case through there is very low. So these things is not the norm. It looks good on TV when you see it. It's wonderful. It feels good. You're happy that somebody has got out of there, but it is not the norm.
That's right.
It's not the norm. And so that's why we have to pay attention to who we're electing as judges. And like you said, Attorney Matt, these narratives that they talk about, I'm tough on crime. We don't want people that's tough on crime. I want somebody that's fair, that's going to listen, not just go right for the narrative. And so we have to, be careful for what we ask for, because we're saying, we want somebody tough on crime. And then 20 years later, you got a stream of people that's coming out that's been wrongfully convicted. And this is what we're seeing right now. This is what we're experiencing all over the United States.
Yeah,
and
that's
I hope that crime bill had a lot to do with it. Had a whole lot to do with it. So we have to be careful and we have to start paying more attention. Go ahead, Miss Diane.
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was just nodding. But you're talking about the crime bill that was passed in the 90s, I think, where it basically hamstrung any appeals by defendants on if they didn't appeal within a certain amount of time, they were out the door from a federal level. And then the other thing in the state of Michigan is that in this case of Lorinda Swain, that was a case of a woman that was exonerated. But in that case, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled and ended up sending it back to the trial judge. Now, a key thing in that was that they had asked for it to be in whether or not somebody could ask for a new trial under what's called 770.1. That's a MCL statute that says a new trial may be granted for any reason where the court feels that justice has not been done. That was the standard. Our legal advisor for the Voice of Detroit, Travis Herndon, was there in prison back before when that was still the standard. And in 1989, I believe it was, the courts in this state enacted what they call the 6.500 motions, which is a series of hoops that you have to get through, whether this is newly discovered or not, whether you knew it at the trial, whether you appealed it, whether you said anything about it in your appeals, all sorts of hoops that are virtually impossible for anybody on their own to get through. And even with attorneys who basically just go through the motions on that, when actually they could appeal, they could win on the issue of a judge deciding that justice was not done, period. Actual innocence. And in that case, there was and this is what Travis has brought to my attention repeatedly, there was a brief filed by prosecutors, federal and state prosecutors, on behalf of all defendants in the state of Michigan, basically, specifically with regard to Lorinda Swain, but in general, that Michigan does not have it right, that 6.500 should not be what people are held to appeal under, that 770.1 is a statute that overrides 6.500. And the courts have ignored that. The brief is tremendous. They just, if I had it here, I could quote from some of the, basically saying that, we know that we don't want innocent people to go to prison, but basically 6.500 is allowing it because it just hamstrings. And then what Travis always says, because he was in prison for a long time and knew so many people. Most of the guys coming in there can't even read. I don't know if most of them, but at least a large number of people coming into prison were the victims of poor education in the inner cities and, are not able to read. They have to start from day one, maybe getting their GED, and they learn as they get inside, the ones that are dedicated to learning and going to the law library. But everybody is not directed in that capacity. And then they just have so many obstacles up against them in the legal system. This whole system in this state in particular is set up to keep people incarcerated for life. And that whole thing, a life sentence, no, you don't just throw people away for one act that they did in their lifetime. You don't just throw them away and say, like the juvenile lifers, the 16 and 15-year-olds that Kim Worthy has never agreed should have been resentenced. She fought that tooth and nail from the day the families started talking about it. Back when I was working with the Michigan Citizen, they were up at the Michigan legislature saying, change the juvenile lifer laws in the state. Kim Worthy came to those hearings and adamantly opposed any change. Now the U.S. Supreme Court eventually in 2012 overruled that. They said, no, people that were sentenced as children to life in prison have a right to a resentencing. And that was in Miller versus Alabama. And then later there was another case that made it retroactive. But the people we're dealing with in this city, I mean, Kim Worthy, she has children. Can't she look at the young people that come before her court, before her office, that her office goes after, and see her children's faces in their faces? What makes her so different?
Because she's disconnected from her community and from her people, and that's a lot of the problem. Some of these people get in positions or they be in these jobs for so long, they're disconnected. That's why some of these jobs or elected positions need term limits, because you need fresh, new people, fresh ideals, people who are open to change. Some of these people are not open to change. They're open to business as usual. Darrell came home and is back to business as usual. Who's next? And so we need fresh people. We need people who not sit in these jobs 20 years, 30 years, doing the same thing. 10 years, or 5, 10 years, you need to be out, because we need to have a circulation of fresh people. So we have to redesign the system needs to be redesigned, dismantled, take it down, because it's just not working.
Yes. Yes.
And it's evident of it's not working. And for, you know, the things that it worked for, there's a larger of where it doesn't work. So I'm just so happy though that he's home, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen with Derrico. Hopefully he's home soon, and we'll get some more people home and keep this energy going, because we need to see this so we can call them out. And also, like LaSonya said, it gives other families hope. Like, you know, my kid can be home soon. And people need that because they feel so hopeless.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
The United States has the 5% of the world's population, but it has 25% of the world's incarcerated population. That's a reflection on this country, and we're the only country, aside from South Africa back before when apartheid was still around, that sentenced children to prison to die on juvenile life. And when they finally got that overturned, it's been an uphill battle to deal with that. But when people think that the United States is just so great, look at those figures. Think about those millions of people that are languishing in prison. That's always in my mind, no matter what kind of happy stuff goes on out here, what kind of happy stuff may be going on in my life. At the background, we're on top of all those men and women that are trapped in concentration camps, because that's what they amount to.
Right. And J Love, let me interject this also, okay? Part of the system that we've had here, as I said, some of these Court of Appeal judges and some circuit court judges too, by the way, 83 counties in the state of Michigan, running on that also. Definitely a lack of diversity of individuals running for the bench, and tragically, far too many cases of people of color running for the bench that really have the same philosophy as let's just say majority mindset. Let's just be euphemistic about it, okay?
Yeah.
And so the problem is not just in skin, because we would like to think. Let's say if a Latino or an Asian, African American gets in, that is going to be somehow symbolic of a more fair system. That's not true. True. Okay. There's a person sitting on the United States Supreme Court right now, black as a mailbox. Okay. The whitest justice in modern era in the Supreme Court. I'm sorry, J Love, you might have to kick me off the air for this. Talk about a crow that thinks it's a bluebird. Okay, so and will sing up for the bluebirds better than the bluebirds sing for themselves. Okay, you're sitting up there, you got big crow feet, you got big crow feathers, you got a big crow head, and you got a big crow beak, and you think with your big ass you can fit in a bluebird nest. So anyway, we have got to be able to realize the importance of challenging these people right from the get-go. Right from the get-go, okay? And part of the problem is, you talk about the Wayne County prosecutor. Well, I tell you what, in that last campaign, when 9-10, before they went crazy and lost their head, okay, I saw a whole bunch of black preachers and people supporting that candidate, boy, that sitting prosecutor, boy, a whole bunch of them, and stuff. And so, the black church is still very relevant, and still a great political force. But boy, I said, wow. So when you say she's disconnected, I'm not so sure. I think she's well connected, But the question is connected to what? Okay.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Well, not to us.
Yeah. So you know, I mean,
Definitely.
So I look at that, but anyway, J Love, I want to finish up with this. This is a little primer to my brothers and sisters when we confront people in terms of law and order, and a lot of those times, those are like our more conservative brothers and sisters. Okay, ask them if you think the system is great and fair, and people do not get convicted of things they do not do. Why is it you have a major candidate for president of the United States saying that the system is corrupt from top to bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it you have a major candidate for the United States that talk about the police are corrupt? Remember on September 6th? Oh, them police, they really wasn't getting hurt. You know, they look at the tapes closely. They was telling people, come on in, come on up here, right? You know, do that. Why is it you tolerate in these discussions about law and order a candidate that has 91 counts against him all over the country? Because when you say that, what you're saying is all those grand juries are corrupt. Okay? Mm-hmm. Florida, New York, Georgia, you know, no prosecutor indicted Donald Trump. The grand jury is the one that brings down the charge. Okay?
Right.
A prosecutor just presents a charge. The prosecutor don't indict nobody. Okay? So I guess what I'm saying is, and I hope some of my conservative brothers and sisters are listening, how dare you talk about the system is fair and just and people in prison, all of them deserve to be there, when your candidate for president talks about how unfair and biased the system is to him. A alleged billionaire, a man of color, of privileged color, okay, and resource. So my question for you is this. If the system can be corrupt and biased and crooked against a white man, a billionaire with all manner of power and influence, what the hell make you think that the system will not be corrupt against the woman's son who was on you earlier?
Right. Mm-hmm. And then, well, Attorney Matt, I'm just going to say this. If you can walk around with 91 indictments and still live your life and go wherever you want to go, the system is corrupt.
That's right. That's right.
The
That's
system
right.
is
and get your penalty decreased.
Right.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
By millions.
They have a black man right now facing the same kind of RICO charge that Donald Trump is facing. This man, the same Fonnie Willis, same prosecutor's office, same circuit court. This man has been in jail for 2 years. 2 years. The man cannot post bond. You understand? The man cannot post bond. So how is it he is in there for 2 years and this man is out with 80 some other indictments against him all around the country? No tether, no reporting, not a damn thing. Okay. Comes and goes as he pleases. And by the way, let me tell you something right now, and then I'm through, J Love. As an attorney, if I look sideways at a judge, my black behind is subject to contempt. Okay, you know, sideways.
Yeah.
Okay. This man can go talk about the judge's mama, where the man is from, talk about his daughter, talk about the man employees, threaten the man family, and not a damn thing is happening. So I guarantee you right now, you'll be reading about my black behind the Washtenaw County Jail Monday if I go in and say, Judge, you ain't no dang on good. You shouldn't be on the bench. Mr. Mack, put your hand behind your back.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes,
with Trump, the what he represents is serious in this country. There's a growing fascist movement.
That's right.
Pro-Nazi movement in this country. And that's who he actually represents. That's how Hitler came to power through an election.
That's right. That's right.
And if we don't pay attention, history gonna repeat itself.
We better start organizing and arming ourselves, because if he gets in, he's going to be unleashing the troops and the police and everything else on us.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The same ones that he called corrupt.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Hey, look here. When they're out there busting black and brown and poor white heads, they won't be corrupting them.
Mhm.
See, they'll be law enforcement officers then. Is what they'll be. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he sent federal troops to various cities across the country during the follow-up to the George Floyd murder because of all the protests that were going on. Trump delegated people through the Justice Department, federal troops.
Yeah. And look, J-Love, I'm sorry. One other thing. I thought billionaires were supposed to give out Bibles, not sell them.
Hey,
I was waiting for the lightning at some point. I was like, there has got to be a lightning bolt that comes down. I could not.
Where is he at right now? We need that lightning bolt.
Right.
Hey, he's selling shoes and Bibles.
Yeah, and what was his favorite scripture? He said that's his personal. That's private information.
Wow. Hey, y'all. They say King James, he made his own Bible. He cut and pasted. And they say Thomas Jefferson, he damn sure made his own Bible. He cut and pasted. So, I believe when you look at John 3:16, they're going to say John Trump 3:16. For God sent his only begotten son, Donald J. Trump, to save America from the darkies, the communists, the socialists, the lesbians, the gays, the transies,
That's right.
The poor, the underprivileged, the backstroke swimmers across the Rio Grande. He sent his only begotten son to save us from them.
That's exactly right.
Yes. So, Reverend Tia, did you want to add anything before we leave?
I just want to thank Diane, for the work that you do, and so excited about our men coming out, and that's where my focus is that I see many being released. I do see the justice in the midst of the injustice, and so I just really want our people to understand the power that you have within you and on the outside of you, that collectively you can make a difference. And I think today's show demonstrated that difference and demonstrated that when he came out, he is ready for purpose and he has a passion and he knows why he is here. And he has a voice that will not be quieted. So I want us to see this, to know this, to join with him and others, because our time is now. Justice is now. It's for us.
That's right.
And I want you guys to support Miss Diane. She does a lot of work, and this paper, her online paper, is very, very important to the work of wrongful convictions, injustice. She goes all over the place, and we need to support her. So please, if you can, donate to the Voice of Detroit. It's unbiased and unbought. Go to www.voiceofdetroit.net. There's a link there that you can go and you can click on and you can support this Miss Diane's work. They do a lot of work, and this comes out of her pocket. Comes out of her pocket. So we have
there's a link to our GoFundMe page, to a link to the Voice of Detroit GoFundMe page on the newspaper. I put that on after every story. So, and we appreciate anything we get because it's not easy. This paper involves a lot of expenses.
Yes, and then and because her work is being seen and she's out there, even some of the social media platforms try to block it and do little funny stuff. You got to go around them to post it and all kinds of stuff. So that she's doing something that's correct, and that she's giving out truth and information. So support Miss Diane. She's going to be with us, and we're going to keep on bringing this information. And also, we want you guys to support us on April the 10th. We're going out to Oakland University to talk about wrongful convictions, and we're going to bring Larry Smith and Paula Kenzu, Trisha Mack, as well as Tia Littlejohn and Miss Diane. If you want to join us, you're welcome. It's at Oakland University, April the 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. Join us for that. And always, as we talk about her everywhere, keep Crystal in your prayers. I talk to her weekly. She has been inspired since we were out there protesting. So just keep Crystal in your prayers. And if you want to connect with Crystal, this is her information. Connect with her. These women, you don't hear about as many women being exonerated as men. That number is really, really, really low. So we have to hold the women up as well. I thank you, Miss Diane, for joining us. Thank you, Attorney Matt Rabatia. We'll be back next week, you guys, turning a moment into a movement.
That's
Until
right.
then, see you later.
God bless.